Sure. I'm Jerry McFarland, born and brought up here in Fredericton, educated here, taught school Nova Scotia for 3 years, went to UNV and Acadia, but music has always been a priority in my life. I had some wonderful teachers, some wonderful people to encourage me, and instilled within me a love for music, particularly classical music.
Hello, I'm Georgina Poulin from Fredericton, New Brunswick. Have been involved in every music festival to date, either as solo work myself, in choirs, accompanying students, instruments as well, teaching students, including our own children, still teaching students, and still going faithfully to every music festival. I don't think I've ever missed one.
The first Fredericton Music Festival had just, I believe, one hall, the old Provincial Normal School, which is now the Justice Building on Queen Street. And I believe all classes were held in that building. I could be corrected. Jim Manship was the music teacher in Fredericton. He had a glee club at the high school, and he took the glee club to St. John to the called New Brunswick Competitive Festival of Music, which it still is called in St. John. And those of us who were studying went to St. John to compete in music festivals.
I participated in the St. John Festival, which at that time in 1947 was the Provincial Music Festival. That was in 1947. It was the only festival in New Brunswick, music festival. And I sang a solo, and I won $100. And in 1947, that was a heck of a lot of money. And then it was the next year, and that allowed me to go to Mount A summer school and study music. And that was the next year that the Fredericton Music Festival began. But in the fall of 1947, Jim Manship, who was the public school music teacher and an organist, a well-known organist, he also owned the record album at one time, a music store. He was instrumental in founding the Fredericton Music Festival. And there was a Dr. A.S. McFarland, I believe, who was the first president. So the first actual classes were in 1948, and they were held in the normal school, which later became Teachers College, which now is the Justice Building.
He was a member of the local Rotary Club. He talked with people who were there, part of that club, about assisting in starting a Fredericton Music Festival. He thought it was only fair to the people in Fredericton, and he was successful in having this done. And if I remember correctly, the first music festival here was in 1947. The adjudicator was Maris Vetra, I believe of Latvian descent, and shocked us because those of us who had been competing in St. John were used to getting good marks. Here, with the very first music festival, Joan Esty, she's now Joan Harvey, and I were singing in competitions, and we were shocked when our highest mark was 80. It just never happened that way. And then in adult, George Bolden was a beautiful tenor singer. He competed in a class, and he received 85. And that was what we were used to receiving, that and maybe a little higher. So but it was interesting, but we learned a lot just the same from that man. He was a good adjudicator.
In our first festival class, there were 57 candidates, and 4 were chosen to play again. Not like today, in which you have maybe 10, 12. I think I was in choirs at that time too, probably church choirs. No company for a while. And I liked it, and I've stayed there. When we sang, the auditorium of the Justice Building was filled. The classes were filled.
The early classes, back in the 48, 50, 59, 60, so on there, I can remember one class where I think there were 42, and we played the same thing. Imagine an adjudicator sitting, listening to this, and finally coming up with, well, you know, how can I rate these?
Just having the courage to go in and play or sing is very important to them. It's an experience that they'll always remember. And being in front of an audience and performing is good for anybody who's worked hard.
There's a lady that was in my very first class in, was it 49? I think. Or 49, 48. We still joke about the festival. And she said, you and I used to play, not with one another, but we played duets against one another. It was just fun. An organization that we had a great time. Some of us were competitive, and we liked to win, of course, but everybody couldn't win. So we did what we had to do anyway. And the same with the students when I started teaching. I only had very few, but only 1 or 2 in the festival in the beginning.
In 1966, I founded the Harriet Clark Memorial Handbell Choir of Brunswick Street Baptist Church. Harriet Clark was the wife of a former lieutenant governor, member of our church. And so I had never heard tell of handbells before, and I was asked if I would direct a handbell choir. And so I said yes, not even knowing what they were. Anyway, for 23 years, I had the handbell choir. In 1971 and 72, the handbell choir was star of the festival.
I would say it was beautifully organized from day one. I think that Jim Manship organized the first one, and he was an organizer beyond organizers. And I think that it was very well organized throughout the years. My word, we've had numbers of people who competed in this festival who have made their mark in the music field. They're not always performers, but they're in some aspect of music-related activity. And by that I mean they're not solo performers. And then some people use their background in music for, perhaps they're in business, maybe they're recording other people, but by knowing their subject makes them more expert at their work. Many of us can thank music festivals for the experiences we've had and the future that came as a result of those beginnings.
I don't hesitate whatsoever to say that we have the best music festival and the biggest in New Brunswick. When we think of the names over the years who have become wonderful musicians and well known locally, nationally, and internationally. I'm thinking of young Jeremy Van Slyke, whom I accompanied when he was 9 or 10 on the violin. I also accompanied Misha Brugger-Gosman when she sang in the music festival, and several other people who were very young musicians and made their way up and have certainly made great contributions to the world of music, and with their roots, their beginnings, often in the Fredericton Music Festival.
We've had some who've made a name. We know of Wendy Nielsen, has sung at the Metropolitan Opera and opera houses around the world, and with major symphonies in many, many places. Misha Brugger-Gosman has made quite a name for herself in performance and in various types of performance. She hasn't stuck to classics, but she's entertained a lot of people.
Oh, my stars, it has grown so much. Like, I don't know how many days I think we may have had a lot more choirs. All of these schools entered a class, good, bad, or otherwise. And I think there were more children involved then as choirs. And then there were extra choirs with the music teacher I had junior madrigal, little children, 3 years old and up, and then it went on upward to in the 20s. And we don't have so many choirs as we did then.
My involvement, along with participating, was also as a volunteer. Back in the 60s, I worked with Garfield Dykeman on venues, locating places throughout the city. And of course, over the years, as the festival has increased, grown in number, we have many venues now. Usually at one time it was pretty much the high school and maybe a church location. What I found amazing are many students are multi-talented, violin and piano and maybe another string instrument. And if you want to see and hear the two very best concerts in the city of Fredericton in any given year, go to the Junior Festival concert and the Senior.
Oh, the final concerts, they now have two. There used to be one. But the festival is so much bigger that they have a junior concert and a senior concert. Now, they don't make them very large, which is wonderful. And they sort of go by marks and judge. Okay, say you've had somebody that average was 85 and the other one was 86. Which one do I choose? The 85 one might have done a duet with a duet partner, so they can still get to do their piece. And the 86 one will get to do a solo. Or I'm not sure how they do the program, but it's not very long. And it's usually very, very good, a wide variety. Like you've got the strings, you've got the brass, you've got musical theater. We didn't have musical theater years ago.
One of the things about that is unique and I think is absolutely wonderful and speaks for the festival is that there has never been a paid worker. It's always been voluntary.
I look back and I know that my teacher, who took me to St. John, started something in my life that has stuck with me, I've been able to make use of. I've got acquainted with a lot of young people. I've had experiences I would never have had. And music festivals do that for people. It's
Having loved music from day one, it's part of my life, actually. And I think it would be pretty dull if we didn't have that music festival to look forward to, even at my age today. You know,
I do think that, for the most part, people have fun.
and it's meant to be a positive event. Every bit of energy on that committee goes into making it a positive event.